This game doesn't start at this level. It actually starts with a side scrolling, but that's not quite as impressive. So I thought I'd start here, and I'll talk about the side scrolling ones later. But look at this racing engine. Is it possibly the best racing engine on the Amiga? Let's take a look. I'm going to compare it to Lotus 2, which is probably the consensus if someone asked what's the best racing engine on the Amiga. But I think this one might give it a run for its money. So when we're all done, let me know what you think in the comments. So one thing it has over Lotus is the frame rate, because it stays at a pretty consistent 25 frames per second, whereas Lotus 2 goes between 25 and 16.7. This one also has way more colors. If you look down there, it reaches 80 colors from time to time. Right there, it was over 80. It also has music and sound effects at the same time, unlike Lotus 2. Where Lotus 2 does beat it is in the playable screen resolution. This one is 320 by 188, whereas Lotus 2 is 320 by 200. But then this has the HUD too, so it's a bigger screen overall of 320 by 237. So let's talk about how this one is done. If you've seen my Lotus 2 video or my Prime Mover video, the palette visualizer will give you a hint. There you go. So the copper is actually changing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors here, whereas in Lotus 2, it's just 3 of the colors. You can watch it move as I go. This is where you get a lot of the colors, and then you also get the copperized colors here in the HUD. With the copper visualizer on, you can see all the crazy copper work over here. Look when you go up the hill and then down. You can see that like in Lotus 2, there's copper color changes here for the palette. So that provides all the colors that you need for this area. So you've got the white and you've got the brown. And then down here, it changes it to the red and to the lighter brown. And you've also got the green for the grass. But then unlike Lotus 2, you've got a few extra things in the copper here. You've got the bitplane pointers changing along here, the purple, and here, and here. And you've also got the bitplane playfield horizontal scroll values changing all here and the yellow. But you'll notice that this really dark green for the shadow is not in the copper. And the reason for that is Borobodur's big secret is that it's in dual playfield. So the road is actually only bitplane 0, 2, and 4. Here I'll move a bit. And then bitplane 1, 3, and 5 are all the objects. So that's where the dark green comes in for the shadow. So going back to the palette visualizer, you've got the back playfield here. So these colors are all the road. And then this half of the palette is for all the objects. So if you combine them and you put 1, 3, and 5 with 0, 2, and 4, then you get everything in 6-bit planes dual playfield, except for the HUD, which is just 3-bit plane 8 colors. So if we do bitplane 0, 1, and 2, then you get the full HUD 3-bit planes. And then if you're wondering how the player character here is done, it's all sprites. So it's made of sprite 0 and 1 attached, 15 colors, 2 and 3 attached, and 4 and 5 attached. And I personally think it's really, really well done sprite. I think it looks nice. So if we just play with the front playfield on here for a minute, you can see all the objects and everything. And the palette is, yeah, very brown and green for everything. So we probably agree that Lotus 2 has the better artwork. But as an engine, the question remains. You can also shoot and destroy everything, which I forgot to mention. Here are the DMA stats. So the bit planes, with it being dual playfield, taking up the most, and then the CPU, and then the blitter. If we put the blitter visualizer on, you can see it's blitting the whole screen, just like Lotus 2, and also the objects. So again, with just the front playfield, this is what it looks like in the blitter visualizer. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a better looking, smoother engine than Lotus 2 or not? I really like how wide it is. I think that really gives it a unique look by being so wide, the road. But yeah, definitely the artwork is better than Lotus 2. But this one is very, very impressive and not widely known. Now for the side-scrolling levels, the artwork looks a little bit messy too, but there are some interesting tricks that are done, and it's quite interesting how the parallax is achieved. So these levels aren't dual playfield, they're actually bitplane 0, 1, 2, and 3. They're just 4 bitplane 16 color. So 16 colors up here, and then the HUD again is just 3 bitplane 8 color. So then how is the parallax done? Well, just like in Elvira and Lollipop, which I also have videos on, it uses the blitter for the background parallax scrolling. So if I put the blitter visualizer on, you can see again that the whole screen is being blipped. So take a close look at the background right now, and if I take the bit planes off and just go bit plane 0, 1, and 2, you'll see that that's the complete background. So the background is 3 bit planes, and it looks like it just used the first 8 colors of the palette too. So here, if we just look at the first 3 bit planes, again, you've got the full background already, but you don't have the full foreground. Before I put the 4th bit plane on, take a look at the colors in this half of the palette for a second. You got them in your head? Now watch when I add the last bit plane, you'll see a lot of those colors show up. See, there's the oranges and the reds and the blues and the grays. So yeah, the first 3 bit planes are shared between the background and the foreground. And then the 4th bit plane adds extra colors for the foreground. Your player character is again a hardware sprite here. And then also these 2 meters, the red and the blue, that are for the energy and the ammo in the HUD are also hardware sprites. The other cool thing technically about this level is that it actually changes the foreground palette. And it's a 16 color game. This game came out a year before Lionheart, and I thought Lionheart was the first to have 16 color levels and change the foreground palette quite a bit. But it looks like Borobodur did it first. So if you look at the color of these rocks, for example, and then switch to the palette visualizer, you can see it's very subtle, but these 3 colors change right here for those colors, and then it gets darker browns. And then if you shimmy down this rope, you can see the blue start here, and if you go back to the game, there's the blue palette there for these objects. You can also see it well in these rocks. So if you change the palette here, it goes from these browns to these blues, and it's quite obvious there. So if you throw on the copper visualizer, you can see this line here in the copper moves dynamically up and down with you, and it changes the colors. So if I pause it right here, it actually changes color 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 15. But you can see here it's really only color 11, 12, and 13 that are changed. So throughout this level, I can only find where it changed color 11, 12, and 13. Just those 3 colors, except for this spot where it changed 4 colors and did color cycling for the water. But in this case, it actually added a duplicate line. So it had the 8 to 15 here, which did the brown colors that we saw a minute ago. And then it added this line that also did 8 to 15. But in this case, it started at color 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then the other ones were unchanged. So I'm not sure why they did all of them, but maybe it's something to do with the fact that it starts at the yellow here and goes this way, which is where the background 3-bit plane stops at this dark one. So either way, the coder was very talented. He actually did quite a few Amiga games. Venom Wing from 1990, which had some cool effects, and Bump and Burn in 1994. And he even did Kingpin Bowling for Team 17 in 1995. And I just discovered this part of the level that with the palette visualizer looks very Lionheart-esque. Look at these 4 palette changes and then the 3 really subtle ones here. Each of these start at 8 and go to 15 again, but it's just these 3 colors that are changed. And if you jump up in the palette visualizer, you can actually see a 5th one up there too. And I think this enemy here, this Bob, uses some of these new colors and also these platforms. So it's not just the non-movable objects, but it's also for some movable objects. So definitely some technical treats in this game and maybe a hidden gem of a racing engine. So very interesting stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment and put on the notification bell if you'd like to be aware of the videos right away. So thanks again. Take care.